Guys, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on Shooting Complex. For today, we're going to be talking about our experiences of what it is like to shoot a night match. So we all had the privilege and, dare I say, the honor of competing with one another at the Wildcat Valley Practical Pistol Range PCSL night match. And this is the second time they've ran it. This is my first time shooting the night match. So let's start us off. Introduce yourselves. How long have you been shooting? What's your experience with PCSL, and what's your experience with night shooting? So, Dave, we'll just go left to right. Dave, get us started.
Cool. I'm Dave Mason. According to Practice Score, I've got like 190 matches under my belt. I started, my first match was an indoor match in 2017, and I'm pretty sure it was a USPSA match, but it was an indoor match, so it was pretty simple, as you can imagine. Had no idea what I was doing. Really, even after I thought I knew what I was doing, I had no idea what I was doing for my first 80 or 90 matches. Discovered some good online coaching and finally started to know what I didn't know up until that point. So I would say for the last 2 years, I've at least had a grasp on what I'm trying to do. PCSL, I started a little over a year ago. In fact, I walked up to Alex out of the blue. I don't know if you remember, but I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
hey man, how does this match work? I've never shot a two-gun match. And so that was my first PCSL experience. I've shot a couple of PCSL championships in Fort Wayne. I'm a B shooter. On my very best runs, on my very best days, like maybe I'm a low A shooter. Um, I'll wrap this up so that I don't take everybody's time. But I shot some indoor lights out matches leading up to
Mm.
this. Did very well at those, and so and I shot those PCC with an AP5 and MP5 clone, which felt about like a cheat code. And I did well at those indoor lights out matches. So I went into this match with confidence, which I think is what made the biggest difference in my result than anything else. And I'll talk about that more. But yeah, I was excited about this match and I was pretty confident going into it.
All right, Harrison.
Hey, so I'm Harrison. I've been shooting. Oh man, I guess I've been shooting seriously for like 4.5, 5 years. But like within that, just kind of like like taking classes and learning and not really being competitive. But then I think I shot my first match in the very end of 21, maybe the beginning of 22. Started a few indoor matches, just USPSA class, C class initially. Just worked my way up from there. Um, yeah, just been, I guess, climbing in that sense in the USPSA since then. I've been taking it pretty seriously. I had like 1 year where I had hand surgery, so that whole season was kind of a wash because I was just kind of like, push through the injury, and eventually it kind of worked. But by that by then it was just kind of the year was over. But like now I mainly shoot carry optics now. I'm in, which I folks who don't know is just kind of like your shadow, your Glock with a red dot on it. Um,
But
I'm
you're
on a
you're
class now.
yeah, I'd say you're an M now, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in now, and it's funny because it's like I was C class for a couple months, then I hit B class. I was B class for a couple months, then I was A class. I was A class for like 2 years. It was agonizing. Fucking
Yeah.
sucked. Like you get like you know all the way there, and then throw a class fire or have an equipment failure at a major. But yeah, like I guess in terms of night matches, I've shot a few. Last November, I got to shoot the Point One Tactics night match, the 2 day one in Chicago, and that one's night vision only, and it was crazy. Just like it was 24 stages indoors. So
That's
coming
real.
off,
Wow, that's nuts.
it was insane. It was like staff built stages. It was crazy. So coming off of that, I had shot only one other night match before this one, but I was feeling pretty confident going into it. Like kind of like Dave said, just like those past experiences, kind of what you're doing. You know what works and what doesn't work. Well, in terms of two gun, I haven't shot on a two gun, so I'm really looking forward to doing more of it this year. I think it seems like this year it's really I know in Indiana and Ohio it's really taken off.
Oh yeah.
Michigan, where I'm at, it really hasn't yet. So I'm really excited to do more of it.
Oh, dude, 100%, right? Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience shooting night.
Yeah, so I'm Justin Sluka. Probably the least competitive of the four of us here. I've only shot, I think, to date 16 matches, if practice score is to be believed. But I'm more of an amateur gunsmith who wants to be a little bit better than just a guy who owns a lathe. So, I've been shooting PCSL. I think my first match actually ever was Cornfield Brutality 2022, which is where I met you, Alex, all the way out in Iowa. Mm-hmm. But since then, PCSL matches and a couple of USPSA matches, I think one off GSSF match. Mostly, I have no idea where I classify as. I've never gone out of my way to, be a member of USPSA. I just try to shoot better than the bottom third, try to shoot better than cops and military.
Right on.
So far, seem to be successful in that regard. Someday, maybe I'll try to get into it a little bit more, but I'm just trying to be better than, your average guy.
And your experience with shooting night?
Yeah, so it's the first time I've ever shot night. Definitely an interesting experience. I've heard stories about it, but never gotten an opportunity to do it before.
For sure. So this is my first night match. And I had Harrison, you obviously have the most experience out of all of us, especially because you shot this most recent match with nods. Yeah. Which is different than all of us because we were all white lighters. The mental anticipation that I had for this match, I just didn't know what to expect. I shot one low light, IDPA night, and they left the lights on. They just dimmed them. So it really, it was an indoor match. Let's be real, it's IDPA. So it really didn't prepare me for anything. I just got ready for this match by turning off all the lights in my garage.
Yeah. Well, you crushed it. It worked out for you.
How else did you guys train and prepare for this?
So since I think I had done 3 indoor lights out matches, and those you did not see the stage until the timer went off. So you stood outside the bays with the RO, the timer went off, then you could enter the bay and actually see the stage for the first time as you shot it. And I did well at those. I did either top 3 or top 5 out of 30 at all those. Partly because I think I shot PCC and most everybody else was shooting pistol. But going into this match, I was like, okay, well, what I haven't done is shot at 100 yards or more in the dark. So my preparation was basically just running the rifle on a few positions on a ladder, seeing how quickly I could acquire the target under the light, how quickly I could get the reticle on the light. But it was dry. I mean, I was dry firing. In fact, I wasn't even pulling the trigger in dry fire. I was just changing positions and seeing how well I could acquire the target at 50 yards under, my weapon light. So that was kind of my practice, was just setting up a ladder, setting a target out at 50 yards. How quickly can I acquire it? How much trouble am I going to have getting the reticle on target? And then to prepare for kind of the field courses, I think that's the right term, the shorter courses that I shoot PCC on, I set up a couple of cardboard targets at varying distances and just practiced, getting on target with those quickly. And for the further one, using my flip to side 3x magnifier, which I'd never used before this match. So that was something new for me. And so basically I just practiced dry a little bit out in my yard one night to confirm that getting the reticle on target under that light wasn't going to be too much of a challenge. And then I called that good, partly because, and we could talk about other prep I did, but it's a little bit of a school of thought that I adhere to, that like once you gain confidence in your training, sometimes that's where I stop, because I want to go into the match having a positive experience that left me with confidence. Now, obviously you have to be practicing throughout the week, throughout the month, regardless of whether there's a match coming up. But if I'm specifically practicing for a match, I practice until my confidence is high, and then I stop.
Interesting.
So that I have positive impressions of my training going into the match. And this is kind of a Steve Anderson thing, if you haven't heard of him.
Yeah, that does make sense.
No, I don't know who Steve Anderson is, but I mean, like training, like just speaking about training in general, like I'll never forget this guy I powerlift with who was like, you know, you can't make yourself any better in 1 week, but you could definitely make yourself a lot worse. And I definitely hear you on that. If you, I personally feel that like with matches, you should leave every match frustrated, but every training session you should leave confidently.
And that's the concept, is basically don't beat yourself up and leave the range beat up in practice, because you will carry that baggage into the next match.
Yeah.
You are at the level you are at. That's why you have to train throughout the week, throughout the month. Like you just said, you're not going to get better in a week, but you can certainly put yourself in a negative headspace in a week. And so once I was like, hey, I'm getting this sight picture, I'm getting the reticle on target fairly easily, that's where I called it a good. And that was just the week of the match.
Harrison, you look like you're ready to jump in, man.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, let me think. Like how I got ready. So I've done so since I guess last fall. I kind of knew I wanted to do a lot more rifle stuff this year, and that's where the majority of my training has gone into. So like shooting PCC over the winter, which is fun. It's fun because you get to hear everyone complain.
Oh, dude, that is so lame. The people that complain about, I'm just listen. If you're a shooting complex listener and you complain about PCC, I don't want you in my audience. But yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, everyone's just like, and every time they complain, it's just like you have to make it more. You just have to like be PCCer. Like I would like grab my dick at them and stuff like that. Like while I'm, you know what I mean? Just like, but like, anyways, yeah. So just like starting the year, kind of like training a lot of rifle in terms of shooting, like under nods especially. There's like, I really like, I guess like kind of like what Dave was saying is like, it was like you do like when you go into the match, like you go into it with the skill that you have. So it's not like that week beforehand. I'm really like thinking like, oh shit, I need to learn how to like do all this. Um, but then with nods, with that consideration, there's just a lot more, I guess, like gear considerations, which is kind of the fun, which is a fun part of it. Like, like
Oh, dude, yeah, gear's super sexy.
yeah, it's like it's sick. So like shooting at, yeah, like I figured we'd probably be shooting at 200 yards. So like with I guess I'll just grab my thing, but like shooting it with like a laser. Like this is just like an airsoft Somo gear because they work amazing, but just like like zeroing this, like kind of zeroing my red dot at 100, and then trying to zero this to my red dot, and zeroing, like I wasn't doing it super well because I was doing it kind of like at twilight, which sucks. But just like I guess yeah, like getting confident with the gear beforehand. Like I've done enough pistol shooting under knives that I really know what to expect and I know I can do it. But rifle shooting is there's just like a fair amount to consider. Like I guess I
Before
got to
you
a point
before you
where
go on though, I do want to ask you about the pistol a little bit. You said you shoot the pistol under nods. Do you just aim through the dot, or do you have like an
yeah
IR device?
yeah. So that's the so yeah last I guess fall I was trying to figure that out. Kind of having like debates with like a few people in Michigan. Um, like what's better. Because you think like, like you're aiming through both eyes and people shoot occluded, so you would think that you would want the like I've got a PVS 14, so it's one tube, right? So like, and I'm left eye dominant. So you'd think like if I'm shooting, like I'd want the tube on my right eye and just kind of see the dot floating in the darkness, but then see the full thing with my not eye, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that for some reason. For some reason, when you do that, like your shots are
Fascinating.
like your shots you'll call alphas and they'll be all off to the side. You know what I mean? It's just like there's something that your brain doesn't really like. At least for me, doesn't really click there. So yeah, you're like in this sense, you are like looking through your tube through the dot, right on target. Um,
And
what
Is
what
helped?
that
what dot do you hit?
parallax essentially
Oh,
though? If
sorry,
you're,
Dave. Go on.
I wonder if that's parallax you're creating, looking through a naked eye and an eye with the nods.
Yeah, yeah, it could be. I have no idea. I just know I tried it in a practice, and I was like, it was like Delta, 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 Mike, and it was like Jesus Christ. So I'm not doing that.
So what
Um,
dot are you using?
what
What
nod?
you know? Well, you said you're using a PVS 14, but what dot are you able to look through?
Oh,
Um,
so this is just the 507 comp. People will talk all the time about like glass clarity with nods, like it won't, like you can't. But the issue that people bring up is like there's not enough light that gets through the
mhm.
dots that you can see. But honestly, as long as you keep your optic clean, like a holosun will work just fine. Um, what really helps with that when it gets really dark, and like the tube is really trying to work at it and try to like that's when you have a little trouble with it, and that's where like you kind of want to use an IR light. Like I'm borrowing actually like so this is just a Surefire that I'm actually borrowing from. Do you know Jake Walker, Bullets and Band-Aids? He's a GM.
Maybe if I saw him.
Yeah, you'd know him if you saw him. He's a GM in Michigan. He might honestly, yeah, he's really good, but he was an angel and let me borrow his vampire light and his holster for the match, and you do need it because then that's actually kind of cool because it like kind of washes out your housing, so you just see a dot floating in the air. It's sweet.
Oh,
Um,
that is really
it's
cool.
a
Do
lot
you have
easier.
footage of like through the tube at all?
I don't, but I could probably find some. I could find some and send it to you.
Yeah, that would be really cool because I have no idea what that looked like. I was curious
Yeah.
because, I had seen you shoot a couple stages, and I was like, damn, he's going at a really fast rate. Like, I've seen you shoot at Indiana Sectional, and it's like I know what you're capable of, like just regular shooting. And when I saw you shooting under nods, I was like, yeah, man, this guy's got like no problems with it. Like I was pretty impressed. So I was curious,
Oh
like
my
what the
gosh.
aiming solution was with the handgun.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's yeah, it's really just like looking through it, yeah, it's really just like that. Um the bigger issue usually is the movement. The movement under nods is a lot like you really have to plan out. Not to like I guess take a ton of time talking about, but like
No, no, please, like hey,
yeah,
I'm curious. I want to hear about this. I don't know what the hell this is like.
yeah, because I mean, really, it's like I mean that's why in a lot of dark matches the white lighters will usually come in the top and nods will come in under, which is pretty common. Um, and I think a lot of that reason is like you have a 40-degree field of view through your tube, and if you're running binos, which I don't, you still have a pretty restricted field of view. So it's like what you'll see is a lot of people who are like not used to it, like. And it was me one time, like especially at that point one tactics match, like the first few stages, like you're bumping into walls, you're stepping outside of fault lines, like because you really have to, like how I guess in our game the visualization is really big. Like
Oh, it's
you know,
huge.
I'm visualizing, like I'm planning out my stage run, like I'm going to look at that part of the target and that part of the target, and then my eyes are going to go straight to that spot on the ground, like the eyes going to that part spot on the ground, that becomes like three times as important because like you need to actually like stare at that spot for a while longer to make sure that you're actually going to hit it before you can come up. Just because it's just like otherwise you'll just go straight out of bounds or you'll hit a wall or something like that.
I mean, I think even with like I don't know how like Justin or like Dave, you guys felt like yeah, we work in a visual sport. Like planning like what is it, Wan Shi Kim is like your vision focus can make up for like so much with like recoil control and like movement and whatever. And so like when I just turned my lights off in my garage, I was like in pitch black, and I'm like, well, shit, how am I gonna move like around? I was hitting into the walls constantly, and like I was over driving into positions, and like even with the white light, like just like getting my gun up on a target, I would have to like overcorrect like the light because I'm using a Surefire turbo on my main rifle, and it's pretty bright. And so when I got like on the gun and I'm looking down, I had to like really turn the brightness up on my razor because it would just wash out on all the up close targets. So I mean it was, yeah, I mean the vision it completely changes.
Well, and back to the vision thing. I mean, I had learned from doing those indoor light matches. I had learned from those how much the nods guys struggle at matches. I didn't know why until Harrison just pointed out that you're getting 40 degrees field of view, which is basically nothing. I mean, that's so constrictive that going into this match, I was like, well, I bet I can at least beat a lot of the nods people. And that was only based on what I had seen at the indoor lights out matches, but I didn't know why. So now I know why. And just to go back to what you guys were saying about how important vision is, I spent 2 hours with a friend this last weekend. Actually, it's the day after the match. So I'm coming off of my finish from that match, all psyched up. And a friend of mine wants to learn how to shoot matches. He's never shot one. And so he comes to my house and I'm like, okay, first things first, show me your grip on the pistol. And he has an appropriate, thumbs over each other grip, which at least I consider to be appropriate. But then I said, next question is, do you shoot both eyes open or not? And he still shoots one eye closed. And so to break it to somebody that, I'm sorry, this thing you have done your whole life, you immediately starting this instant have to stop doing it that way and do it this other way, or you have no chance of ever being competitive. I mean, and I hope I'm not being naive or too empirical, but I was just like, this is non-negotiable. You immediately have to start training both eyes open because you have to have that peripheral vision at a match.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's totally valid. Like, you got to have it. Yeah, and it does, like, it's wild. What's kind of cool is when you see people at night matches who are not used to, or who are shooting nods, and they're dry firing the stage, and they're dry firing, in like white light or something, but they're using both eyes. And then, like, if they're using a single tube, and then as soon as like that goes off, their whole, it's a totally different stage for them, because like, so it's almost like you have to dry fire the stage with one eye open, or only one eye, because it's totally different. But yeah, I think that's totally valid. Like, you got to shoot with both eyes open.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna answer the question that was asked in sort of backwards order. Movement. I'm with you that the movement was actually the hardest thing about shooting in the night. It was I shot stage one last, and I think that was probably the stage that was most made or broken by your stage prep, the order of which you shot those targets. And the way I decided to do it is I was going to dump my rifle in a barrel, and then without drawing my pistol, I was going to run back and then draw at a different position and shoot. But that was going to mean that I was going to have no light navigating from 2 points, and I had absolutely no idea what was on the ground. And there's that thing in your head where you're like, oh, that's not safe. That's not a good idea. And part of me even thought about just going and grabbing some of the glow sticks that the ROs had laying around and just chuck it on the ground. And I know where that line is. I didn't remember seeing anything in the rules that said I couldn't do that, but it didn't seem sporting. Unfortunately, when I went and shot the stage, I completely forgot what I was going to do, and I drew the pistol immediately, and I was like, oh, okay, I got the light now, so that worked out. But not being able to see in the night, especially when you got everything on the ground, the barriers, the rails, that's going to trip you up. And I don't have nods. I have night vision. I have a big ass PPM3 Soviet night vision optic that fits on an RPK.
Oh
but I
yeah,
was
that
thinking of one
ancient
that,
like starlight scope.
yeah, it weighs 30 pounds. I was not going to shoot that this match.
Coward.
But I did shoot Woodland 24 in an M40 gas mask. And kind of a same problem that you have in nods. You're kind of piped off. You can't see anything. And then on top of that, I'm on prescriptions. And so I've got prescription inserts inside of the gas mask, and I was shooting with an ACOG. So your eye blocks to hell, and you can't see anything. There's like a centimeter of what you can actually see. And anything that's not in that, you have absolutely no idea where the target is, and you have to really just remember where your next target is. As far as prep for this match is concerned, kind of similar to Dave, I live out in the boonies, and I've got a lot of livestock. And so, like, once a month or something like that, my livestock guardian dog will freak the hell out. And I've got to go out and figure out what it is. And unfortunately, my best lights are all of my weapon lights. And so that'll mean going out into the woods with usually a pistol and a weapon light and figuring out what is out there. And I don't like to brag, but I'm pretty good at spotting a deer, with a TLR1.
Hey, TLR gang, rise up, man. That's what I had to shoot on my Glock.
But honestly, I didn't do very much prep for this because I had absolutely no idea what to expect. It seemed counterintuitive to prepare for a match that I've never done before because I didn't know if I was going to prepare correctly or incorrectly. And yeah, I could have switched the lights off in my office and put targets on the wall, but when you're in a room as small as this, as soon as you turn that light on, it's just going to blow everything out, and you know everything is.
Yeah, stage planning was definitely different. Like, kind of as we're all talking about this, I think the benefit that the night match for me that is going to carry over into like just regular like USPSA and PCSL is that when you're dry firing, you can only see like when you're dry firing the stage. I just taped that Surefire light onto my head, so wherever I was looking is the only thing I could see. To me, it put more of a premium on me memorizing where all of the targets are. Like I had to be like, okay, from this position, like I know I'm gonna see like this 3 targets or 4 or whatever, and I had to really drill that into my head because I wouldn't always have the benefit of being able to like directly like have a sight line to that or like see it. I that's something I'm going to be real with. I struggle with sometimes on matches. I just get like a lot of performance anxiety and like, God, this past year at Area 5, I forgot a target. It was like it was the worst, most embarrassing thing on the planet. But shooting at the night, I think really benefited me to just visualize in my head like what a stage looks like.
Well, and I can't overstate how much the lights out matches I shot prepared me because, like I said, those you didn't see the stage until the timer went off. And so I went into this just with the attitude of, holy shit, just the fact that I get to walk the stages for 5 minutes and know where targets are. Probably every time it's my turn to talk during this, I'm going to talk about confidence. Because for me personally, if I have confidence going into anything, I know how much it boosts my performance. So I was just excited simply about the fact that I got to see the stages and see where the targets were going to be.
Sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially shooting like PCSL where like it's just so much more dense. Like 5 stages of PCSL is, equal to like 8 or 9 stages of USPSA state. Like just because there's so much more to do. And it's like I have to remember all my movements with a pistol. I have to remember all my pistol targets. And then I also have to remember, how to hot holster, which I did not remember for the first stage. I was just like looking at my guns like like ripping everything out and then like retreat. It's just like there's so much more mental bandwidth that I feel it was also like really I think it was really good for me too because I have also like I've had some FTSAs like at area where's the like South Dakota. I like had an amazing array, just so good. And I was like so psyched about it. I was like, I fucking nailed that. I'm leaving. And just like left like 3 targets. So just like there's stuff like that, like, but I think PCSL was super good for that. Like after my first stage, so like looking around, like, did I shoot everything? I feel like I just did a ton there, and like having to figure it out. So
Oh, dude, you're 100% right, man. Like these stages are so much more dense. Like you shoot a USPSA stage, it's pretty straightforward. You go to this
like,
position, this position, this position. Any target that you see, you have to engage. But with PCSL, if you've never shot it before, oh, okay, this first time that I run through the stage, I only have to shoot the brown targets. Then I have to run the whole stage backwards now and shoot the rifle targets. And
yeah,
one, like, then you add the dimension of there being no light to that.
yeah,
Like, oh man, your ability to just memorize stuff is just so much more.
Well, backing up to my first PCSL match, kind of coinciding with when I was starting to get a grasp on what I was doing, shooting competition. And after I shot a PCSL match, I was telling all my friends at USPSA or RDPA matches that, hey, you should shoot PCSL because it will make you such a better shooter with stage plan, keeping track of targets. I mean, you're memorizing twice as much. And then you
Yeah.
go to your first pistol only match and you're like, holy shit, I learned so much at PCSL having to memorize for two platforms that I don't think it's a coincidence that like my first PCSL match started to coincide with when I kind of really started figuring things out.
yeah. I could totally, because there's like, even aside from the memorization, there's just so much, like there's just so many more tasks. Like it's like when I'm switching to my rifle, it's like now I just did a whole entire stage with pistol. Now I have to start thinking about like my holdovers on, like close
Oh,
targets, or like
dude.
is my like am I hitting the T zone at 20 yards? Is that really like how many do I want to throw at that? There's just so much more like thinking to be done.
And that's what's annoying about pistol shooters thinking that PCC is an automatic cheat. I mean, I referred to my AP5 as a cheat code earlier, but the fact is the manual
No,
of
that's because
arms
it's
in a
really delayed.
rifle with clearing malfunctions, with even just mag changes. I mean, I've had this fight with people online who are like, oh, yeah, shooting a rifle is so much easier. I'm like, okay, that sounds like someone who has not shot rifle at a match. Because in my opinion, dealing with mag changes, clearing malfunctions, these kind of things, and maybe it's just because I've shot pistol more, but I feel like rifle is more of a challenge in terms of the gun handling, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too far off topic about like rifle, but rifles in general. But yeah, I do think rifle is tricky because you you have the ability to shoot very accurately, really fast, but it's a guessing game, and you really have to know yourself and your ability and your skill of what can you get away with moving and what can you get away with, like what do you have to be stationary for. I think that was the biggest thing I struggled with. I was like, oh, I got a rifle, I'm going to take everything on the move, and it was absolutely not the case.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I find that I rush off of targets too fast in transitions, or sometimes even rush on. I might be getting those terms backwards, but because you have that leverage point with the rifle against your shoulder, I think you can swing it so fast. I end up having mics sometimes on very close targets because I'm simply swinging that rifle, the muzzle, faster than I think what I swing my pistol. And I don't know if that's common with rifle or if it just means I need more practice, which I'm sure I need more practice.
I just think that like because you have extra points of contact, there is, because we have the an extra point of contact, we have more capacity for stability and instability. Like anytime you move your shoulder, it's gonna jostle around or whatever.
Yeah. I think for me personally, it just comes down to I will dry fire my rifle with like Dry Fire King on the TV and like a little bit with cardboard. I'm thinking about shooting some of my midweek like throwaway matches. That's not a fair term, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like my outlaw indoor matches. I'm thinking about shooting more with my PCC just to get more time behind the rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely is harder on the transitions. And I feel like I don't know who said it, who like it was some really good PCC shooter said it, like when I was just starting, just like just it's worth it to take the extra 500ths of a second just to make sure your dot is where
For sure.
so that you just like it's not something it's like you have to take that like just 500ths more time than a pistol it feels like because otherwise it'll be like I'll shoot the most accurate like two Charlies, you know what I mean? It'll be like a double stack two Charlies, 15 yards, brutal fast. And it's like had I just taken like, just a tiny bit of time more, it could have been so much better.
And in terms of, it reminds me something I was going to bring up and forgot. In terms of preparation for this match, I shot a time plus 2-gun match the week before it. And that was one thing I was doing was rushing targets with the long gun. And I also learned that at 30 to 40 yards, I want to flip to side magnifier for the long gun. So that was, because I've got 53-year-old eyes with cataracts. So for me, I learned that at 30 yards, I need a magnifier on the long gun. So that was part of the prep for this match too.
Time to take the LPVO pill soon. All right. So is there any like other final comments that we want to say about shooting at night? Rifles, gear, big lessons for next time?
I will say this is a bit of a hot take, but I was a little surprised they opened the matchup to new shooters.
Yeah.
I don't think PCSL is the right place for a brand new shooter to begin with. Go shoot a Steel Challenge or an IDPA or USPSA. Go shoot something because dealing with two platforms is a lot. And to invite and welcome new shooters at night, if I were the guy in charge, I may have not done that. And that's just personal take. That's not to say that that's the direction anything should go, but I was just kind of personally surprised by that. And I hope that's not too negative to say, but it's, you're managing a lot. You're managing your equipment, you're managing your planning.
Yeah.
And I think a new shooter could potentially come away extremely frustrated and maybe leave with a negative impression that would maybe not be the case in a normal match.
Yeah.
But it was a hell of a lot of fun at the same time. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if nobody could come away from that, not feeling awesome because it was so much fun.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think new shooters, definitely there's always a potential for them to make a mistake there. But, I think the fact stands is that the match went off without a hitch. Everybody left A-OK.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
But I guess the bigger conversation is that, like, newer shooters now are so much more skilled than newer shooters, like, 5 years ago. But that's total tangential point. Harrison, what you got?
Oh, I was just thinking like kind of what I was saying. Like after the match, I had messaged Alex actually, just like oh, the scoring is weird. Like they didn't apply penalty. Like I thought that they didn't apply penalties to my mics on one stage. So I was like, oh shit, I thought I won the stage, but like if they fucked up my scoring, then I feel bad. And like, but then I was looking at it, it's like they didn't. It looks like every mic during the match was a no penalty mic. And it almost made me wonder if that was intentional, if they did that intentionally for like to be more beginner friendly, because like if the misses are not as brutal, that's less people who are going to be stumbling around searching for targets that they forgot. Like I don't think that they even, penalized FTSAs. So it's like
I don't think so.
They just applied. It was just total score for the match. I noticed the same thing. I was like, I know I had a mic on a stage and it's not showing up.
Did they announce that at the start of the match that they were doing?
I don't think so.
I don't think they were either, because I know I know a couple guys in this call that would shoot the stage maybe a little differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and it's a relief, Harrison, to hear you say that, because I panicked for a minute. I was like, oh shit, did somebody fucking cheat for me and not count my mics?
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way those guys would not do that. So it actually, and then when I got to looking at all the stages, I got to realizing, okay, the scoring does look like what I shot compared to the people above me because of my mic or two. So I was like, okay, they're just not tabulating it the same way as normal.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if that was intentional. And I guess I, like going to a lot of night matches, two gun night matches. I've gone to some that have been outlaw, and it's just an absolute, just like Bubba fest. It's just it sucks. It's like just dudes just out there just trying to blast targets as fast as they can at night, and it's like, but like this one was like, it was like I was saying to Alex a little bit, is like it was the perfect balance of like, being chill, and then, the tight wad USPSA stuff that I'm guilty of, like, but just like it was just like kind of the perfect amount of laxity.
It was so much fun. They did such a good job. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think they did for sure.
They stripped the stages down just enough. The stages were simplified a little, but they were still fun stages. And I don't know if we're wrapping up because of the Google thing or not, but
no, it's extended. We're good.
Okay. I will say that is one thing that, having shot the night match, then there's the whole other layer of being the people to put on the night match.
Yeah.
And so I just want to take this opportunity, because I sounded a little critical early about new shooters. I'm not being critical at all. Those guys did an amazing job of putting on that match and putting on really fair stages that could be a balance of being challenging and be fun.
Yeah. Dude, match directing is a whole other headache I don't ever want to deal with. But yeah, I think the people that did put on Wildcat, I think they did do it right. There is the Bubba factor, Harrison, like what you're saying with like any match, especially like night vision. Where else do we get an opportunity to do this in white light and night shooting? This is the only opportunity a lot of us like ever get to use this gear. This is the only time I've ever used a flashlight. There was that one stage I shot at, what year was this, Justin, where they did
23 Woodland Brutality. But even then, they were like, do you want to use the flashlight or do you want to use the headlights of a pickup truck?
Yeah, I was like, oh, pickup truck, 100%. Yeah. It's way more powerful than this like old Surefire Scout light that's not going to reach out to 200 yards, So yeah, I mean, this is the only time to do it, and I can't imagine like you have not having a lot of experience and then going to one of these matches and like just being super nervous. If you're a new shooter and you're hearing this, definitely get some experience at regular matches first before you go out and do this.
At the lights out matches I did indoors, I mean, basically everybody spent the whole time leading up to the match, from the time they got there till they started shooting, essentially talking about how nervous they were and how they didn't know what they were going to do once they get inside there. And I just made up my mind, like, fuck that. I'm just going to walk through that door and shoot the targets that I see. And that's a piece of advice that I give new shooters, like green shooters, is you need to calm your thoughts down and think about one or two things. And again, this goes back to some Steve Anderson, but it needs to be thinking about one or two things that are visual and not thinking about your gear and mag changes and footwork, which you're going to forget once the timer goes off anyway. So I think at a night match in particular, for someone to organize their thoughts and concentrate on as few things as possible is, to me, is the way. That's the way to do it.
I think this is not a criticism of this night match at all, because this match was absolutely priced appropriately for what it was. And I will 100% do it again and again and again. But, I think this style of PCSL night shooting, if you're someone who's good at memorizing your stage plan from the get-go, light or no light, you're pretty much going to remember what you're going to do regardless. I can imagine it's very different under nods. I think that's a pretty meaningful difference in skill. But for white light shooting, I was extremely surprised at how trivial the difference was between just a regular daytime PCSL match and a white light night match. To me, it didn't really feel like it was all that much of a difference. What you're saying about, having one thing in your head, going into every stage, all I was thinking was, shit, I'm cold as fuck and I can't feel my hands.
Yeah, that's
So that's where my head was the entire time, was I can't feel my fingers, and boy, I hope I don't drop my gun. And the other interesting challenge of the stage, and this had nothing to do with the night, but again, it was the cold, was the mechanical malfunctions that you get where, you know, your mags don't want to drop free because the nylon rubs, you know, on the frame of your pistol. And that was also a different challenge. But again, those aren't night related. I would love to try those night matches that you did indoor where you go into it totally blind. That sounds like an interesting challenge that really leans into the darkness and the light that we didn't have at this match, because I'm pretty okay at remembering where targets are. It was double checking practice score a few minutes ago. I didn't miss any targets. But going into a stage totally blind and being expected to find everything, that sounds like a really cool challenge.
And this sport, I mean, if you've done it for any amount of time, anybody will realize, I mean, it's 90% mental. It's a mental game.
Yeah.
And
dude.
when people panic because there's no light, then they've got such a hurdle to overcome. So starting with my first lights out match, I was just like, no, I'm not going to panic. I'm doing the same thing I always do. I'm putting a red dot in the middle of a cardboard target and pulling the trigger. It's the same thing. The dark is no different than the light, other than you obviously don't see quite as well. So I just didn't allow, during any of the lights out or dark matches, I didn't allow myself to have any amount of panic whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's really easy to like have a panic at those matches. Did the smoke bother you guys? I know that's something like with white light that it really, like, you don't always expect until it's like you can't see anything.
On the plate rack stage,
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted Alex, I think, but that was what I did not anticipate. Was, I mean, I was shooting through clouds of smoke, and it was essentially using the force and just knowing what the spacing on the plate rack was to make hits. Like, it was that bad.
That was the plate rack stage. That was when the darkness like really kind of started settling in. That was the third stage, I think.
For us, it was the third.
Yeah, the third stage at that point in the match. And you know, I'm using my Glock 47 with a KKM compensator.
Yeah,
and I just like wasn't expecting, like, I presented it at like the first target, and I'm shooting, and like I'm like, why the hell can't I see anything? I'm like, the light just didn't punch through any of the smoke, and I was like, I can't see. Well, one, the steel's painted blue, so it kind of like melted into like the background.
That didn't help.
I didn't have the dot adjusted properly for the darkness. I definitely didn't. And if I did try to adjust it, well, I didn't adjust it to how it was actually going to be. And I remember shooting, and I was just like, I saw this like puff of smoke by the time I got to the plate rack, and I'm like, I just can't see anything. And I didn't think that like having the compensator would affect it, but it definitely was a factor.
That's one of the counterintuitive things about shooting under white light is, you know, you think at night you want your red dot turned down so you're not blowing out what you're doing. But no, under white light, you want that red dot turned up almost daylight bright. Otherwise, you're not going to see it under the light. I mean, thank God this is a PCSL match. You know, you start the stage, you're like, hang on, I got to look down the sights and actually see. Can I see what I'm seeing? I almost wish I was shooting at those blue targets, though, when the light went down, because my stage, when it was actually dark, was the long range stage. And my muzzle brake, it was just smoke in front of me. I can't fucking see that white target at 200 meters. Go to hell. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I feel okay. So let's talk about how we placed for a second. I came away amazed. I finished 8th overall, first in senior, and I was kind of blown away by that. And then when I looked at the stages, I was like, well, holy shit, dude, you came in 4th on the 200-yard range. Now, you could argue, well, that's because, you know, you shot it during daylight, and there's some truth to that. But there were also, 15 shooters on our squad, and I shot it third, I think, for our squad, or was it fourth for our squad? We're all the top.
I'd
So,
have
I
to look
mean,
at
I guess
practice
what I'm
scores.
getting at is like, I felt guilty that yes, I shot that stage well and I shot it under light, but I also could have shot it a lot worse. So I was like, fuck that. Be happy, be proud of that, because the
Yeah.
only people that beat me on that stage were the best shooters of the match. So I mean, yeah, I shot it during daylight, but I also shot it in the top, you know, top percentage of our squad, all shooting it in the daylight. So anyway, that's me bragging for a second about my performance.
Hey,
No, yeah,
let-
you guys shot it impressively fast for like. I mean, you got the people who like all the top shooters on that stage. It was like it was like you guys crushed that stage.
you shot. That was your
And
last
that
stage, right,
I
Harrison?
What?
Was that stage your last stage?
Yeah, that was our last stage, and
Oh, so you had like pure darkness.
yeah,
yeah,
and it just destroyed all the night vision dudes, which is their fault. It is 100% their fault. Like, it is not like, oh, like people will whine about. It's just like there were so many people on. I'm not talking shit, but there's so many people, or like our squad, are just like who are just guessing. You know what I mean? Who just like you just didn't like zero your laser to your red dot out that far. It's like, and it doesn't. It's not hard to do, but it's just like, there's a guy, like, and I'm sure this is not his fault, but he was like shooting, like subsonic 300 blackout, under nods, like, and that stage was just his nightmare because I don't even know like what that bullet drop looks like.
So, how many people on the night vision squad shot that with their lambs versus shooting it like with passive, like aiming through their dot?
Everyone started shooting it through lambs. Like I shot it through lambs. Um, I I had so I shot the entire match through with like active aiming. How I have it set up, just to like, I guess show is like that's the passive, and then I have like this kind of as like the backup, and then I had like a cheek rest here because you need a much higher cheek weld with the nods. So I can't actually see out of my optic, but this particular one is like 3D printed, and I can just rip it off if like the laser failed or something, and then I couldn't.
Or if your suppressor fails.
Yeah, or suppressor. God, yeah. But like, everyone shot that under at least starting under lamb. There were a few people on my squad who did like switch their sights though part of the way through.
so I don't know night vision. What's lambs and what's the
Oh,
alternative?
so it's you have between like active and passive aiming. So generally, the much better way is active or lamb, and that's infrared laser. So there's
It
an
stands
infrared
for laser
laser,
aiming module.
and then there's like an infrared illuminator. So that's kind of like it's kind of hard to see, but that's your kind of essentially your flashlight, your infrared flashlight. Then that's your laser, and how you kind of work that is you zero it as far out as you can. So in my case, I zeroed it to like 150 yards because that's what I kind of expected. And on close targets, all it looks like is just normal holdover, but like because the laser is like like an inch off, you're just an inch off maximum. So under nods, you can see like that's how you mainly see it. Um, the pitfall and why I think a lot of nod shooters like need to work on is like a lot of people will just shoot like their rifle then because they don't have to they don't have to aim down their sights. Like passive then is just like you're aiming down your sight, but the thing is like your tube, you're looking through a tube and then you have to look down your sight, so you can't get low to the gun. You have to have like your optic like as high up as you can possibly get it.
Yeah.
um, so a lot of people don't do that. Um, but the thing is because that's like kind of a pitfall, right? Because like in order to be accurate with your rifle, like you want that point of contact. So like a lot of people will, and a lot of like even good shooters will like they will they'll kind of get it and they'll just shoot like this, because they can see their laser, so they can see where the gun's going. But then what that looks like is the gun is going like all over the place because they don't have. So I think like you want to preserve that cheek weld as best you can, like regardless of how high you are. I guess if that makes sense.
So essentially, LAMS is IR laser. You can
Yeah.
see through your night vision the point of the laser on the target.
Right.
But if it's at 200 yards and you're not looking through a magnified scope,
it's not easy. You kind of have to like look for it. You can still kind of see, like you can see the laser at that distance. It picks up. You can see it fine. You just kind of have to watch for like the texture change, if that makes sense, or the depth change. Like it's on the ground, and then you see it like
it's on something. It's reflecting
something.
off of something.
Yeah, there were a lot of people like shooting at like the light, and our squad had to be like, "Dude, you're shooting the light." They just saw it like go on something, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna shoot at that." But yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy at distance, but it's also not impossible.
The other thing I wanted to bring up about the 200-yard range is part of my prep. I had shot an NRL 22 match a few weeks beforehand, which was my first one. And this is the reason to go out and try different things. I mean, I'm going to keep shooting that because I learned so much about getting the reticle on target and staying on target from that first match and going out and practicing the things that I needed to practice to just get better about holding the reticle. I mean, that NRL 22 match was essentially my eye opener for shooting at 200 yards. Even though you're not shooting at that distance in NRL 22, you're simulating it because the targets are 1 inch by 1 inch or 2 inches by 2 inches at 100 yards. So that was a huge part of my prep, was that match.
I've been wanting to take what are they called? Appleseed course for pretty much the same reason. I think Appleseed uses the same target presentation that NRL does.
So I have shot an Appleseed course. This was like one of the things I did before I got like serious about competitive shooting. And if you don't know what an Appleseed course is, it's like a historic form of like training American marksmanship. Like they talk about civics, and it's
very Boy Scouts.
Is done in it is very Boy Scouts, but it's done in like a nonpartisan way. They're like, guys, we live in a republic, and you should run for office, and no matter what you believe in, blah blah blah. And then they basically show you like, like old World War II, like manual style shooting. I mean, now we'd call that like NRA high power shooting, where it's like, standing, kneeling, prone. They use these like red coat targets, but that's a whole other topic. My only aside for that, I'm just going to say, I don't think people should shoot Appleseed if they're curious about shooting like just something totally like NRA high power style shooting, but I don't really know how relevant. If you're looking to better practical shooting, I would skip it.
That's fair, but I feel like on the other hand, again, not to get off on a tangent, but I mean, NRL 22 teaches holdovers, it teaches dialing.
Oh, but that's totally different than Appleseed. Yeah. Appleseed's like, it's like, I would just say it's like almost historic shooting at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for something that will, cater a little bit more towards shooting out to, 200, 300, 400 meters. Practical is anything in my mind within 200, which generally is what PCSL is. But every time I hit one of those, 200, 300 meter ranges at Wildcat, it's always at 200, 300, 400 meters is where I start making misses. Unless I'm totally prone and using my mag as a monopod.
Sure. Yeah, I don't like Dave and I. We shot that 200-yard stage, like it basically almost like in the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that 300-yard bay at Wildcat. So like I was supposed to shoot the match last year, and I just went out and I bought a Surefire Turbo because I knew it was the only white light that I could buy that had the capability of even like going that distance. And I was kind of hoping to shoot that stage at night just so I could have that experience.
Masochistic.
My first, my trophy is not sad that I didn't have to shoot that at night, but
right.
it would have been a really cool experience. Just to say I did it, because I can't imagine like, during like twilight or just it was basically just overcast. Let's be real. When we shot it, like that steel gets washed out. It gets washed out during the day, but on a gray overcast day, it gets washed out. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult those targets would have been to see in complete darkness.
Well, that was we hit that range. That was our second to last range, so it wasn't the darkest that we had that night, but it was dark.
Justin, what light are you using?
Streamlight, Protac, one of the Protacs.
Were you able? Was the light able to reach out that far?
Yeah, no. That's the thing, is that in the darkness, that light had absolutely no problem illuminating those targets. That wasn't the challenge. The challenge was you put 3 rounds downrange, and it was like, fighting at Gettysburg. It was just smoke. You couldn't see jack shit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, of my squad was actually very good shooters. 2 people finished that stage.
So speaking of like, the smoke and concussion and suppressors and stuff like that, at first I'm using a Surefire just like muzzle brake. And for those of you that don't know what that looks like, it just looks like this. It's literally their Surefire's muzzle brake. And I got it because I have a Surefire suppressor. I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, oh, for sure, I should probably put my suppressor on, because during the daytime, you can sometimes see the flash from just like the fireball that comes out of the muzzle. I thought for sure I was going to be illuminating the bays. I didn't. The muzzle device didn't actually produce that much like actual like visual flash. But I figured, well, I'm shooting white light, so I'm just going to get full advantage of the muzzle brake that I have. I didn't even actually bring the suppressor. I probably should have brought it just as a backup, but I didn't really know what to expect with that at all. Like, if this was going to impact white light shooting.
I don't like the weight of the suppressor. Now, if you're shooting 200 yards off a barricade, the weight might actually be kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like. I've done a couple stages with suppressor at PCSL, and I just don't like the weight of the can off the front of the rifle.
Yeah, I don't love it. I've only shot PCSL with suppressors, and the past month or so, I've just been like direct thread now is kind of like, I guess, the main way to go, and like that's why titanium's getting all big, because it's like they're like adding an extra 8 ounces with like a chemo mount or stuff like that. It sucks. Like it gets you start to notice it.
But to be fair, I shoot the field courses, the short courses or whatever they're called, with PCC with subsonic ammo. So I don't. It's so comfortable anyway, and I like not having the extra weight on the front of the gun.
Yeah,
go ahead,
Justin.
Okay, I was gonna say my rifle's an ultralight rifle. I thought about throwing my can on it. I'm glad I didn't, because it's a dead air.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Harrison, for our listeners, why don't you explain what happened to your dead air can?
Sure. So, I should preface this by saying that this is my backup dead air can. I have 2 dead air cans. One of them was a Sierra 5, and it was in the bad serial number range, like right in the middle, like right when they came out. They didn't do welds properly on like a certain run, and mine was right in the middle of that run, so I was waiting for it to fail, and it failed in practice finally. A few weeks ago, I sent it in to get warrantied. So I have a Wolfman, which is a 9mm can. So you're supposed to run it with a key micro mount. So I put that on there with this, and it was running fine, ran fine in practice, ran well all match. Got to the last stage, got like seven targets in. Thankfully almost cleared. I think I cleared like the last far target, and heard the spot, pop, gun didn't cycle, and the dudes behind me were just like, dude, you just shot your can down range. So the mount had, I got home, the mount had failed. It had just struck like the end cap and just launched it, 10 yards down range, but I still managed to finish the stage. But what sucks is like then you have your point of impact shift. So that was like the worst part, is like, like guessing where it's going to go, and then bolt cycling the gun, like shooting the last 3 targets in bolt action, but then not knowing exactly where the point of impact shift was. So I found it eventually, but I'm super thankful that it waited till the last like 4 shots of the match to do that.
So I just have to ask, like, after dealing with all of that shit, like, how stoked were you to see your finish for the day?
I was pretty stoked. Yeah, so ended up winning. Yeah, winning night vision by a fair amount, and I was super stoked about it. It was what I needed. I definitely like.
And you won
Yeah,
a new suppressor.
yeah, and I thankfully won a new suppressor. Yeah, because I'm gonna need it. But I don't know. What's kind of cool is like what you're talking about, like um like what you were saying with experience building confidence, like like any of us who've shot matches for a while, like you have a catastrophic gear failure at some point in the stage. Like at Indiana sectional, our last stage, my last stage of the day was a 48 round stage, and I got 25% of the way through the stage, and I just like shot and then saw my battery tray shoot out like on a target. So like
We
stages
both, dude, us both. Yeah, I mean, I think you had to see me shoot with the Glock because my acro. Because I don't know why people with 2011 slides they drill the hole all the way through the
yeah,
slide,
that's right.
and it the Loctite gets eaten by or totally consumed by the lube. My acro flew off.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like I think like those gear mishaps, if you just don't panic, like it always turns out a lot better than you think it's gonna go, as long as you kind of keep your cool about it.
Yeah, and you just push through, which I mean is kind of the point of these matches. If you're simulating defensive shooting or you're even simulating combat, I mean, you push through. You don't just give up because there's a problem.
So
And I've had a Glock
I would say,
24
Justin,
turn
I know
into
you
a.
started a whole thing before we
Yeah,
started
well,
talking about.
I'll wrap up my one thing. I was gonna put a can on my rifle. I didn't, and instead just stuck with my chemo three prong flash hider. And to answer what you were saying, Alex, I didn't notice muzzle flash at all.
That's good.
I don't know really anyone who's. Well, I know lots of people who are like, oh, muzzle flash is a big thing in fighting at night. I'm gonna be honest. I was watching people shoot all night. The only people who I saw with muzzle flash issues were people who were running those big ass brakes. So don't do that. But with equipment failures, I mean that goes back to what we were saying about don't do this if this is your first match. Harrison, you had a suppressor go down range. You guys have had battery compartments go down range. My Glock 24 turned into a Glock 18.
That was sort of wild.
Yeah, it's fun. That kind of stuff happens, and boy, I would hate to have my first major malfunction of a match happen in the dark, where I have absolutely no idea what's going on with my equipment, never having remediated a failure before. I would much rather have a major critical malfunction for the first time ever in the broad daylight, where I can look and inspect and see what's going on, and drill through that and have that happen a couple times, and then do that in the dark, where it's second memory to be like, oh, that did not feel right. I'm just going to put the rifle down and I'm going to take a step back.
That brings up back to preparation. Like, I actually did prepare all my weapons for this match for a change. Even testing ammo, I mean, I zeroed the guns to the ammo I would be shooting in each gun, which I don't normally do. If it's 223 ammo, I'm just like, it's all cheap 223. But this time I actually zeroed the LPVO to the rounds I'd be shooting. I zeroed the PCC to the rounds I'd be shooting, and the same with the pistol. And I actually cleaned the PCC because I had the foresight of shooting that 2-gun match the week before. I had a bad malfunction that took like 30 seconds to clear. It cost me several places in the match. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to let that happen at the night match. So I actually prepared by preparing the weapons I'd be shooting, which I'm normally pretty lazy about. And I had no malfunctions. Every piece of equipment, I had zero. I didn't have to clear a single anything.
You ran 100% good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
For once, so did I.
Was fine. What were you saying, Justin?
For once, so did I.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Your stuff's notorious. Yeah, no, I didn't. I was really happy I didn't have any issues. That's why I chose to run the Glock. It's also the only gun I have that has a weapon-mounted light. The rifle was fine. Sometimes I have issues with the check ammo that I bought, but it ran fine. I really can't complain about the gear. Sometimes I do. The Surefire that I had taped to my head, sometimes it has it's a Surefire Scout Light. It's the dual fuel, and it does have the flickering issue that people have reported. Like sometimes when you click the cap, it like flickers and it's not like full blast. I didn't have any issue with that, which I was glad. It happens every once in a while with it, but it's not like an all the time thing. I probably should send it back, but I don't know. I don't really care enough.
That brings up another thought. You were running that taped light, and I just brought one of my camping headlights, and I'm just sitting here realizing like I tent camp a lot. Obviously in the dark, it's camping, so like I'm pretty used to maneuvering around in the dark. So I'm sitting here wondering like how much did that prepare and acclimate me for a night match? Just the fact that I camp very frequently. So I'm out wandering around in the dark, doing different tasks in the dark pretty frequently.
Dude, Dave, he ain't scared of the monsters in the dark, man. He don't even check underneath the bed. Yeah. All right, guys. I think this was a great conversation. Really appreciated having all of you on here. Does anybody have any closing remarks that they'd like to make? Any bits of wisdom?
My biggest takeaway, I came away and decided that PCSL is going to be my focus moving forward. That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. This is a blast. I'd love to. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think the same. Like, where I'm at in Michigan, the USPSA is king. But it was cool to see like there's a whole nother. I've shot PCSL matches before, but to really see like, oh, there's a whole nother like way to be doing this, and I think I'm going to be doing a lot more of it this year, and I'm pumped because I know, we're doing the two-man squad.
You and I were going to be doing the duo matches, so for those of you that don't know, it's going to be a team match. So
is that the Fort Wayne or a different one?
Yeah, it's going to be the Fort Wayne. Yeah. So we're going to choose who shoots one part of the stage and then tags the other and shoot the next.
I'm so pumped.
I was signed up for the one that got canceled because of weather, and then I didn't make it to the replacement date, but I do plan to get out this year, and I know who I'm going to shoot it with. Great shooter that was at the night match also. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped to do one of those.
Yeah, I gotta get my practice in. I gotta start reloading rifles so I can keep my rifle practice up through the year.
Yeah.
That duo match is going to be a pistol only or PCC only match.
Well, still.
Yeah, dude, we're going to kill it. Justin, what about you? Any closing remarks?
More people need to shoot. I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, things like this exist, and the fact that this match was $40.
Crazy
more people
value.
Need to do this. More people need to do this. It's really what it comes down to. I mean, yes, maybe don't do this as your first match ever, but one, I'm tired of driving 2 hours for matches. Please, I would like for them to be closer to me. But it's just a really great sport, and more people need to do it.
And more people, I don't want to say like us, but we've mentioned there's a few different types of shooters, talking about rednecks and hillbillies and whatever else. I mean, there's the tactical squads and whatever else. I mean, we're all guilty of fitting into some stereotype, but I mean, I'm actively trying to recruit good people that are friends of mine. I'm actively trying to teach them and getting them to come to matches, and people like us need to do more of that.
Yeah.
We need more DIY. We need more hardcore. We need more punks.
Oh man, I forgot. I have to tell this story before we leave. So I actually got as like 10 minutes out of the range. I actually got pulled over because I was going fast in the 25. It was one of those places that goes from 55 to 25, and I got pulled over right there in my car. I had all my gear out, and the dude comes, the cop comes, and he's just like, hey, blah blah blah. And I was like, hey, I'm handing him my concealed carry from him. I'm like, I have to let you know. And he's like, yeah, it looks like you've got some guns in the car. Just
Yeah.
like, so I got my helmet on the ground and like all my holsters and stuff up front. And thankfully he was super cool about it. But yeah, it was just super like, he's like, yeah, it looks like you, he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I shoot, shoot this and this and this and have this on my helmet and shit. And he's
Yeah,
like, oh,
because
I bet this on
you
my
didn't
helmet.
just get pulled over with guns. You got
Yeah.
pulled over with like night vision,
Yeah, it's just like,
suppressors.
yeah, and thankfully he's just like, oh, I run a PVS 14 on my Team Wendy, and I was like, yeah, good, yes, excellent.
Reminds me of my buddy that got pulled over on his KTM motorcycle for going like 110, and the cop just wanted to talk about his bike.
Yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
my wife would get so mad about that. Fucking boys club bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin, sign your wife up to shoot the duos match with you in Fort
Yeah.
Wayne.
You know her. She wants to do the cowboy stuff.
Hey.
We'll get her there someday.
There we go. So yeah, you know what? I guess my closing remark is stop buying 9-line apparel. Stop buying grunt style. Get out there, shoot. Stop the gear chase. The skills are really what's important. They really shine. Of course, obviously the gear is sexy. It's why I shoot open in the first place. So frame mounted hollow sun 510C and USPSA and all that cool stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the skills that are what's going to make the difference. If you have the opportunity to go and shoot a night match, absolutely do it. If there's a local PCSL match, absolutely do it. Yeah, guys, thank you again for having you all on. Yeah, we'll talk next time. Thanks everyone again for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe.